Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Just wait for the last few people to join, and then we'll start talking about some set electrics drawing and packages, best practice, and start a little project. If anyone's got any questions from left over from Rob Bind or my very brief 15-minute fill before Robin joined, then just pop your camera on and ask, and we can do a little Q&A before everyone's back. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Rob. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, thank you. Just a quick sort of question. I'd like to get your experience on the one we looked at earlier, the Bat Out of Hell.
Yeah.
I've worked on similar things, not in terms of scale, but the same idea.
Yeah.
Like windows and things like that.
Yeah.
But often they were always breaking and always being a problem, particularly if it was touring. So presumably on a bigger thing like yours, you had a better budget to have like better parts and more robust stuff, I suppose. Or?
Yeah, we started with normal tape. We went to Pixel Tape when it did the tour, but the normal tape had to do 3 venues. It did Manchester, the Coliseum, and it went to Toronto, and it broke every single time it moved without fail. We've now come to production managers have concluded now, really, that if you're doing a sit-down version of a show, but that might be doing 3 or 4 different versions in the future, say it's going to do West End, Broadway, Toronto, Australia, that the LED tape is a consumable. It just can't really manage being taken off and put back on again if you're going to install it in a sort of very full-time way. Yeah. And then if you're going to create it as a tour, then it's sort of, a whole different kettle of fish. And that's just mostly about working out very early on with the scenic contractor how it's fitted, how it can either remain on for travel or come off very early on in the load out process so that it doesn't get trashed by everyone trying to remove it, that everything's on super easy connectors. So rather than putting everything on Wagos and just doing it behind the scenes, everything would be put on an ST18 or even, I think when we do it, we've just been speccing a tour for the US and Australia next year, and we're putting everything on a 5-pin cable on the back end, so it can just be it's just a really easy plug and play, and then the whole thing gets removed. The tape in the extrusion, it gets disconnected behind the piece, and the tape and the extrusion and the cap all come off as one big thing. And then that goes into, it's got its own flight case that all sits in, and then that tours. But it is a delicate product. Let's not pretend it isn't. So it's it's hard. And even when we installed it breaks a lot, especially if you've got moving pieces. That tower, for example, the window in the middle used to slide up and down. So you had to have a sufficient working loop in the tape so that it didn't trash the cable. But even then, nature and gravity take over at some point and you trash the cable. And so we had copious times when people were on, but that was an inaccessible piece. You couldn't get to it because it was the whole scenic piece was slanted like this, and it was 12 meters in the air. So we had 2 electricians in harnesses almost every day for about 2 weeks, soldering in midair, getting the tape back together again. It was a total nightmare.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The fantastic John Maddox, who's a brilliant climber and an excellent electrician, would drop those lines from the floor and then climb up and then solder and then upside back down again. So it hasn't really answered the question, because basically all I've said is yes, it does break, but you can have a more tolerable solution, but it is unfortunately about money. And that's not because you have necessarily a better product, but it's because it might break down into more component parts, or you might have a good flight case for it, or you might have really good connectors for it. But actually, truthfully, it just needs a bit of forethought, and then you can probably get it to last a little bit longer if you've integrated it early on. It's those early conversations rather than someone builds a set, then you come along and stick some lighting on it. It needs to be like that, otherwise it will just get trashed.
Have you found design ideas and that have been compromised because they've got so far down and gone, no, it's so expensive because we can only afford one set of it, we can't afford loads of spares? And
yes, and actually, we were about to send Bat Out of Hell out again on the next tour, and they came back and said, look, this Pixel Tape version is just too expensive, so we're going to have to go to, because it's the same thing. If it gets trashed on a move and we have to replace 5 meters of picture tape. That's significantly more money than placing a 5 meter bit of RGB white. So we were about to send the tour out, and then we couldn't because of COVID. But it was going to go out with just normal tape for that reason. So yes, the design ideas were compromised, I suppose, because of a sort of last minute budget decision by the supplier. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries. Holly, so could you say that if a show is doing 3 venues like Battenfeld, it may be more cost effective to treat it like the store? Yes. Yes. Yeah. It's hard because it's a sort of complex politics of that show was being produced by those 3 venues. So it was always going to go to those 3 venues, and then it was going to go in the bin. And after the second venue, we all said we really should have treated this like a tour at the beginning, because rather than 3 sit-down shows. But we sort of knew that we had to just get it into Toronto in any way possible, and then it could go in the bin. Sorry, no, other way around. It did. Yes, no, that's right. And then it could go in the bin. So we did, but it was tricky. Joseph, would you say it might be easy to try and find a low profile LED Battle unit or something? Yeah, some occasions that is good because it's going to be slightly more sturdy. Certainly for something like a window backlight, you might, if it was to sit down, do a window light box made out of tape. If you're going to tour it, you could just stick a little color block in there or something like that. That will last longer on a tour. So we have done that.